From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
We can do no greater honor to her memory than to carry forward the power of her principle and a courage born of conviction. May God bless the memory of Rosa Parks.
As President Obama unveils a statue of Rosa Parks at the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court considers overturning a key achievement of the civil rights era, the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Justice Scalia described the law as a perpetuation of racial entitlement. Justice Sonia Sotomayor fought back. Then 40 years of solitary confinement.
If a cause is noble enough, you can carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I thought that my cause, then and now, was noble. So therefore, they could never break me. They might bend me a little bit. They may cause me a lot of pain. They may even take my life. But they will never be able to break me.
A federal judge has ordered Louisiana release former Black Panther Albert Woodfox. He and Herman Wallace have served nearly 40 years in solitary confinement in the notorious maximum security Louisiana State Penitentiary known as Angola. We'll speak with Robert King, the third of the Angola Three. He was there for decades, but is now free. And on Pope Benedict's final day in office, we speak with former Catholic priest Matthew Fox, author of The Pope's War, Why Ratzinger's Secret Crusade Has Imperiled the Church and How It Can Be Saved. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Obama and congressional Republicans are planning last-ditch talks in a bid to reach a deal before Friday's sequester deadline. The impasse centers around Republican opposition to Obama's call for ending tax loopholes favoring the wealthy. Speaking to the Business Council in Washington, Obama gave a nod to Republicans and acknowledging he's willing to cut social spending in return for ending tax breaks.
Democrats have to accept the need for entitlement reform. But it also means that Republicans have to accept the need for additional revenues if we're going to be able to actually close this deficit and provide the kind of certainty that you need to make your long-term investments. I think it was Winston Churchill who once said that Americans always do the right thing after they've exhausted every other possibility. And we're getting to the point where we've now exhausted every other possibility.
The Senate is expected to vote today on both parties' competing plans. A new Republican proposal would allow the sequestration deadline to pass, but give Congress until late March to decide how the $85 billion in spending cuts would take effect. The Senate's confirmed Treasury Secretary Jack Lew in a 71-26 vote. Lew was an executive at Citigroup from 2006 to 2008 at the time of the financial crisis and a longtime proponent of deregulating Wall Street. In a statement, Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont explained his vote against Lew, saying, quote, "We need a Secretary of the Treasury who does not come from Wall Street but is prepared to stand up to the enormous power of Wall Street." The Senate Intelligence Committee has again delayed its vote on the confirmation of CIA nominee John Brennan. The vote has been stalled in a standoff over the release of legal memos justifying the administration's assassination program, which Brennan has overseen. The committee is now expected to vote on Brennan next week. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, meanwhile, was sworn in Wednesday, one day after his confirmation was approved. Hagel kicked off his tenure with an address to Pentagon staff.
A couple of hours ago, took the oath of office to become the 24th Secretary of Defense. It's a great honor. It's a privilege. Yes, for me, my family, but to be part of your team, who you are, is the honor. That's the great privilege. You're not joining my team, I'm joining your team.
The Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing Wednesday on the proposal for reinstating the military assault weapons ban. In the hearing's most testy exchange, Wisconsin Police Chief Ed Flynn sparred with Republican Senator Lindsey Graham on whether the ban would reduce killings.
from my point of view, Senator, the purpose
How
of the
many
background
cases
check.
have you made? How many cases?
No,
have
it doesn't matter. It's a paper thing.
Well,
I want to stop
Can I ask the
76.
question?
I want to finish the
Wait.
answer.
Well, no,
I want to stop 76,000 people from buying guns illegally. That's what a background check
How many
does.
AR-15s
If you think we're going
are
to
legally
do
owned?
paperwork prosecutions, you're wrong.
How many?
Also appearing before the panel was Neil Heslin, the father of 6-year-old Newtown victim Jesse Lewis. Heslin made a tearful appeal for lawmakers to ban assault weapons.
That's a dangerous weapon, and anybody that can deny or argue that isn't being honest. Jesse was 6.5 years old. His birthday was June 30th, 2006. He was born. It was the happiest day of my life. Saddest day of my life was December 14th. It was the worst day of my life.
The Obama administration's increasing aid to rebels fighting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The Washington Post reports the U.S. may provide military supplies, including body armor and armed vehicles. Without revealing details, White House spokesperson Jay Carney confirmed plans to assist the rebels.
We will continue to provide assistance to the Syrian people, to the Syrian opposition. We will continue to increase our assistance in the effort to bring about a post-Assad Syria and a better path forward for the Syrian people.
The New York Times reports U.S. training of Syrian rebels is underway at a military base in an unspecified regional country. At a summit today in Rome, Secretary of State John Kerry announced $60 million in new aid for the Syrian opposition. The oil giant Shell has announced it will not drill for oil in Alaska this year. Shell's bid to begin exploratory drilling in the Arctic was approved last summer over the objections of indigenous and environmental groups. But Shell now says it will delay drilling after a series of mishaps. Former Illinois state lawmaker Robin Kelly has won the Democratic primary to replace former Congressmember Jesse Jackson, Jr. Kelly was aided by more than $2 million in spending by Independence USA, the super PAC of New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Independents flooded the airwaves with attack ads highlighting the pro-gun record of Kelly's chief rival, former Congressmember Debbie Halverson. The Illinois special election to fill Jackson's vacant House seat will be held in April. A federal judge has ordered the release of 2 Seattle activists who've been jailed for refusing to testify before a grand jury. Catherine Olednik and Matt Duran have been held without charge for 5 months, including 2 months in solitary confinement. They were imprisoned after refusing to appear before a grand jury reportedly investigating property damage at a Seattle courthouse on May 1st. Although neither were present when the damage occurred, they were subpoenaed to answer background questions about potential suspects. The former French resistance fighter Stéphane Hessel has died at the age of 95. Hessel joined the French resistance during World War II, was caught by the Gestapo and sent to Buchenwald concentration camp. He escaped during transfer to Bergen-Belsen and later helped draft the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In 2010, he became an unlikely best-selling author when his pamphlet-length book, Time for Outrage, sold millions of copies around the world and helped inspire protests like Occupy Wall Street. As the movement spread in the fall of 2011, Hessel explained to Democracy Now! Why he's encouraged by nonviolent resistance.
It is proper for the young generation to listen to the very old ones who tell them, we have been resistors at a time where there was fascism or Stalinism. You must find the things that you will not accept, that will outrage you, and these things you must be able to fight against non-violently, peacefully, but determinedly. That is why I'm so happy about what happens these days in Wall Street, because they're indeed very peaceful. They're not throwing any bombs or any stones, but they're there determined to see that their values are to be respected.
The late former French resistance fighter Stéphane Hessel speaking on Democracy Now! In 2011. For the full interview Juan Gonzalez did with him, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. President Obama presided over a ceremony in Washington Wednesday unveiling a statue of the late civil rights pioneer Rosa Parks. On December 1st, 1955, Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a city bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her act of resistance led to a 13-month boycott of the Montgomery bus system that would help spark the civil rights movement.
She lived a life of activism, but also a life of dignity and grace. And in a single moment, with the simplest of gestures, she helped change America and change the world. Rosa Parks' singular act of disobedience launched a movement. The tired feet of those who walked the dusty roads of Montgomery helped a nation see that to which it had once been blind. It is because of these men and women that I stand here today. It is because of them that our children grow up in a land more free and more fair, a land truer to its founding creed.
You can go to our website at democracynow.org for our hour-long special on Rosa Parks with historian Jean Theoharis, author of the new biography, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country. And
Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.